What's up guys, it's Ryan and you're watching Ryan Vision. If you haven't already, make sure you like the video and subscribe for more. Got tons of videos of this Jeep, everything that's been done to it, and everything that's still going to be done to it will be covered. So make sure you subscribe, that way you don't miss out on anything. So I got a couple updates for you today. The first update I'm going to give you is on the winch. I touched on in one of the earlier videos just real briefly, so today I'm going to give you a full look at it. Basically I went with the Rough Country 9,500 pound winch setup with the steel cable. They also have this with a synthetic cable. Totally your choice. Synthetic is more expensive, I'll tell you that much. There's a lot of back and forth on which one's better. I prefer the steel just because I like the way it looks, and I know that, you know, steel is really strong. So that's what I do, is a steel cable, and then I have a big tow strap. I think it's a Pro Comp 20,000 pound tow strap, because the thing with the steel cable is it does a lot of damage to trees, and when you're out on, you know, beautiful trails like the Rubicon, you don't want to be just ripping trees in half, you know, scraping the bark all up and everything. So what I do is wrap the tow strap around the tree a couple times, depending how big the tree is, and then bring the looped ends together on the strap and run this winch hook right through the loop straps, and that works out good. Then you just cinch the slack out and start pulling. So anyways, you know, it's just how much money you want to spend and if you want synthetic or steel. But this is the 9,500 pound. I know they have a 12,000 pound. I'm not sure if they have a 8,000 pound, but 9,500 was a good deal. 300 bucks. It's wired and wireless as far as the remotes. I got those right here. So the wireless one, I did test this out. It worked great. And basically you have an on-off switch on the side, that way it doesn't drain the battery. You only switch it to on when you're going to use it, and it's pretty simple. You just got your in and out buttons, and works great. You can be a decent distance away, which is safe, you know, safer than standing right next to it with a typical cable setup. And then you can just do your winching wirelessly, so that's a cool option. And actually, you know, it's not an option, it comes like that. I didn't have to do anything special or pay more. It comes with both, and then it's your option which one you want to use. So then here's the standard one. Nice pistol grip with the in-out switch there, and pretty decent length cable, and that just plugs in right here where you see this little weather cap. So I gotta say, I tested it out. You know, the remotes work great. The operation's pretty quiet. I mean, any winch is not going to be silent, just the way the motor is and how much torque, and then the cable and everything like that. So you're going to hear it, but compared to other winches I've seen and used, it's pretty quiet, really smooth operation. Couldn't be happier with the winch itself. Winch is pretty easy to install. I'm talking about the winch, not the winch plate yet. You got these, you know, here's your power, your ground, and then basically all the cables are on the back side, and then you got this small ground that goes to the control box. I took that through the grill, and your grounds connect under here. You can see that bolt under there. So you got the big beefy ground connected there, and then the little baby ground for the control box. They both connect there. And then what I did was just try to hide the power and the ground. You want to run them both to the battery. You know, not to the frame. It's better just to go to the battery, and then the battery's grounded to the frame. So basically what I did, you can see that power cable goes in there and just kind of disappears, which is what I want. And you know, if you get close enough, if I stick this camera, you can follow it and see where it goes. But basically I ended up taking it down back behind the grill and the bumper and everything, both of them, the ground and the power. And I ran them separately, you can see here, just because they're such thick gauge that I couldn't get both of them through that hole. So let me get down here and show you. Let's see, yeah, so there you go. They both come through from behind the bumper there, kind of wound through the grill behind the bumper, and then they come up through these existing holes right here. And then I just sent them up and poked through right here behind the headlight. That's where the positive came through, and then the ground came through just right between, I don't think you can really see, but right between the radiator and the body there. And then I just wrapped it around, tried to keep it as clean as I could. Got some zip tie action going on here. So then this is the negative for the winch right here, and then you can see that from the factory they've got that grounded over here to the frame, or to the unibody. So that's the negative, and then the positive just came over here. Again, some zip tie action, and I got the positive right here for the winch. So real thick gauge. This other one, this is for the air compressor. I'm going to show you guys that in another video. So I can see it's time for me to get new battery terminals for sure. These have been on here a long time and they're kind of torn up. So I'll get new battery terminals, and I'm even thinking about getting a 130 amp alternator, seeing how that does, and then possibly even getting a auxiliary battery and running a dual battery setup, because now I got the winch and I got the air compressor, and I have an amplifier. I'm not running subwoofers or anything, but I got an amplifier, and then I'm going to get an LED light bar. So it's just going to be a lot of electronics running off one poor battery and factory alternator. So we'll look into that. But anyways, the winch itself, pretty straightforward as far as the wiring. And you know, you just want to make sure you get a good ground and run that thick ground cable, and like I said, hook them both to the battery. Don't shortcut it and try to hook it to the frame. Just go to the battery, then you know it'll be a solid ground. But the winch itself is just 4 bolts to the winch plate mount, and this winch plate mount is awesome. It came with everything you see here. It came with the fair lead, the plate itself, the mounting brackets, the hardware, and then it is extra $90 to get these big old D-rings with this mounting bracket here and the hardware here. Great, it's all grade 8 hardware, so that's a $90 add-on. But those are 3/4 nice and beefy toe points, and that's what I wanted with this. Is I wanted a winch, but I also wanted toe points on the front. I got one on the back. I got a hook in the trailer hitch, so people have told me with that before, but in the front you need to have toe points, otherwise people are going to hook to your front axle, and you really don't want that. So you know, it's kind of a 2-in-1 here. I got the winch and I got the toe point, so that's awesome. And you can see I've got the winch hooked to the toe point over here. What I advise you do with that is, when you do a winch, it'll go in a couple inches at a time, and it's got a lot of torque, obviously. So what I do is I reel it in while I'm just holding the cable tight myself, and I just get it to the right length where I can hook it in. I don't cinch it up on that toe point, because you can bend stuff. You can put a lot of stress on stuff with this winch. You know, I know that from my last truck. It had an 8,000 pound Ramsey winch, and it had a push bumper, pretty thick gauge steel, and it bent the ends of the bumper in on both sides because I reeled it up too tight. So be careful with that. As far as the winch plate itself, this thing fit perfectly. I mean, you know, I hear people say bad stuff about Rough Country, and I can't speak for their suspension parts or anything like that, just because I've never used them. But I gotta say, so far I'm really impressed with their brackets, like this, you know, winch mounting plate. It fit perfectly. There was a little bit of cutting you had to do. Basically, when you pop this bumper off, you can see below the winch there, I kind of cut too low on the bumper and exposed, but there's like a bumper support behind the bumper, and it has 2 oval holes in it that are basically going inside the uniframe rails. Now you have to cut those out to rectangles. You got to basically bore them out with a Sawzall or a Dremel, something like that. That way the inner plates can mount in. Let me show you what an inner plate looks like so you can get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So there's the inner plate, and that's sitting on the uniframe rail, on the outside of the uniframe rail. Now those 4 bolts you see there, those holes were already there. I guess those are for the factory tow hook setup. But inside that uniframe rail is another bracket like this one, and it's just flat, and it has 4 nuts welded to it for this to bolt into. So the thing is, you got to cut the opening on the uniframe rail open as much as you need to. So basically half of the oval you gotta cut out bigger into a rectangle, so that you can slide it in nice and flush and get it lined up with these holes, so that outer bracket will bolt to the inner bracket without, you know, being tilted funny or something because you didn't remove enough metal. So make sure you wear your eye protection if you're using a Sawzall. I had a close call there. I thought I had my safety glasses on, but I didn't. And you know, the only way I can explain that is I typically use sunglasses, and so I'm trying to get used to using clear glasses. But the problem with clear glasses, you can forget you have them on, you know, because your vision's clear and you just start cutting. Well, I had a piece of metal fly and hit me right in the corner, like in between my two eyelids, so not actually in the eye, and I just pulled it out real quick. But that was like my one warning, I'm sure. So make sure you wear your eye protection, whether you're using a Dremel or a Sawzall, anytime you're cutting, basically. But didn't take long. Cut those out, got them to slide in nice and flush, and then bolted in these. And then you can see it also has 2 bolts on the bottom there. They give you this hardware to replace the stock hardware that goes through the radiator support. And then you can see that 3rd bolt right here, right there. I'm not using that one just because I couldn't get the bolt in with my steering box brace. So, you know, if you don't have a steering box brace, run the 3 bolts. Running 2 isn't going to be a problem in my situation, though. I got 6 pretty heavy duty bolts on both sides of this thing, so I'm pretty happy with that. So like I said, once you get the cutting done, it's pretty straightforward. You bolt these on. You just drop one side of the radiator support at a time, slide the bottom of this bracket. You can see it's got a lip on it that goes under the radiator support. Slide that in, put the radiator support back on, get these 4 bolts bolted in, and do that on both sides and you're good to go. The other side is a little trickier just because you have the horn. That's your horn assembly there. I got 2 of them. This horn is really loud. I don't know if they all have 2 or what, but that's all that's trickier on this side, is you just have to remove the horn so that you can get a ratchet in there and get these bolts on. But no surprise, it's the same as the other side. You've got 2 bolts on bottom and 4 bolts on the side there, and you got to do the same amount of cutting. And you also have to remove, you can see this support bracket here, you got to remove that too, so no big deal there. And then once you do that, I don't know if you're going to be able to see it or not. Let's see if I can sneak under here. So where those you see those nuts there, they're on a plate, and then that plate is bolted to the front of the mounting plate. That plate that the nuts are sitting on is connected to the inner frame mount. So once you get that bolted on, that is the plate that the front of this thing actually bolts to with grade 8 hardware, and that's all provided by them. So then once you get the actual the plate mounted on, it's no big deal from there. I mean, your D-rings are just two grade 8 bolts and nuts on each side, and then you just slide these bad boys through and tighten them up. And I did put a screwdriver through there, through this hole right here, and torque it down, so at least if somebody's going to try to jack these, they're going to have to try. They're not just going to come up and spin it off with their hand. But hopefully nobody does that, because I don't want to weld them on. I want to have them able to open on the trail. So we'll see. And that's about it. I mean, you get it bolted on there, and then you bolt on the winch, and I think I put the fair lead on first, and then I bolted the winch on, just because it's easier to, you know, access with a wrench and everything like that before the winch is on there. But it came out really nice. It didn't take that long. The wiring wasn't difficult at all. So highly recommend this kit. And the whole package you see here, shipped with tax and everything, was $685. I forget what the mounting bracket itself was, but I know the winch was $300, and then the D-ring kit was an extra $90. So you do the math on that. It's you know, pretty inexpensive setup as far as the winch is concerned. I mean, compared to like buying a big heavy duty steel bumper, which isn't what I wanted to do anyways, just because I'm kind of going for this OEM look with the stock bumper. So for $685, that's a pretty sweet setup, and it's a cheap insurance policy to have out on the trail. So pretty excited about it, like how it looks. Again, it's a Rough Country RS9500 recovery system, so check out roughcountry.com, and you can see a video of them doing the installation on it. And that's one more thing I wanted to mention, is their instructions on cutting the bumper is kind of confusing. So what I found to be the easiest was just to hold the bumper up to the vehicle, figure out, you know, roughly where it needs to be cut, and I just started sketching off with a Sharpie, because my problem was I had back to black on here. I couldn't get blue tape to stick like they say to do in the instructions. So I just figured, you know, I want to I want to cut this right where the slip is so that it's not, you know, peeled back like this to get over the lip. So I cut that on both sides where that lip is. And you know, it's not super clean finished work. It's a Dremel tool on plastic, so it heats up and does weird things to the edges. And then I just, you know, kind of cut here, just where it started angling down, cut here, and you can see I got a little happy there with the Dremel tool. And I just kept taking more and more out until it looked good. And I mean, it fits pretty good. I cut a little bit too low here. You can see that I could have gone like another inch up, and that way when you look at it down like this, you wouldn't see that bumper support and the cable back there. But I mean, big deal. Who's gonna get down on their knees like I am right now to look at this thing and go, man, he cut too low, you know what I mean? So it came out pretty good, but their instructions on that were really confusing, so I just went for it. And I gotta say, I'm really happy with how it turned out. So check it out, roughcountry.com. This is the RS9500 recovery system, and their mounting bracket specifically for a ZJ. They have it for other models as well. And then don't forget that the D-rings are not included. Alright guys, so like I said, make sure you like the video, subscribe for more if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time.